Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Yuck. So, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around why all these people are complaining and bitching about Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't get it. But anyways, so, yeah, just too much hatred. Just everybody wants to nitpick and everything. So, alright. So, I have found some more lesser known famous witches. So, we're gonna do that again. I just feel like, what in the hell? These ads, I'm so sick of these ads. I'm so sick of social media. I'm so sick of technology. But Mercury is in retrograde and it's amazing. So it's my time. Alright, so we have Beyond Salem. Yes, Beyond Salem. Salem is not all that it's cracked up to be, obviously. So we have 6 lesser known witch trials that took place throughout the world and then here in the United States. So we're going to take a look back at 60 fiery trials, ooh, fiery, no pun intended, that were part of the worldwide witch hunt frenzy, and credit Bryn Holland. Thank you for these amazing historical documentations. Sounded like a history professor. Thank you so much for your historical documentations. Un papeles, por favor. Okay, number 1. We have Valais, France. Ooh, France. Oh, I'd love to go to France. Switzerland. Alright, so 1428 through 1447. So, an accused witch, she was going through the judgmental trial. The judgmental trial that these people, did, where she is dunked into water to prove her guilt for practicing witchcraft. And obviously, they drowned. So we know that was, a flop. Sorry, but it didn't work. So often considered to be the first in Europe, the Valais trials began in the French-speaking southern region of Valais and spread to German-speaking Wallis. So, the trials claimed at least 367 victims. The actual toll may be higher. So it seems like that's higher than the Salem witch trials. So, with just as many men as women killed, it all began in August of 1428. It's too close to my birthday. Very close. Okay, so when delegates from 7 different districts demanded investigations into any accused witches or sorcerers, they established a rule that if any single person was accused of witchcraft 3 times, they were to be arrested. Okay, so now we're given options. I like that. Alright, so we have like 3 strikes. You're out. That's a lot more sensible than Salem. And I'm not, condoning witch trials, obviously. I mean, that would be just ridiculous. Alright, so I like that rule. So, once arrested, there was no way to escape. So those that confessed were burned at the stake, and those who didn't were tortured until they confessed. So, while the trials were poorly documented, there are a few records that remain from the local clerk of the court, Jonas Frund. So, okay, now we have Germany. Trier, Germany, 1581 to 1593. St. Peter's Cathedral. Alright, so we have one of the largest witch trials in European history started in the rural diocese of Trier, whatever that word is, in 1581, eventually reaching the city itself 6 years later. So the motives behind this massive witch purging were likely political. Aren't they always? So, wanting to prove his loyalty to the Jesuits, the newly appointed Archbishop Johann von Schoenberg ordered a purge of 3 groups of nonconformists. So, Protestants, Jews, and witches. Oh, wow. So, very few of those accused of witchcraft were ever released. So, between 1587 and 1593, 368 of the accused from 22 villages were burned alive. almost all confessing under torture. Almost a third of the victims were nobility or held positions in the government or local administrations, including judges, burgomaesters, councillors, canons, and parish priests. Wow. Now we have North Berwick, Scotland, 1590 to 1592. So this is all prior to Salem, and this is a lot more people being burned for obviously not being a witch. Right, and this one is, oh wow, the title page of King James's Daemonolo of a dialogue. So, alright, when King James the Sixth of Scotland sailed to Copenhagen to marry Princess Anne of Denmark, a severe coastal storm forced him to land in Norway and take refuge for several weeks. So the storm was blamed on witchcraft, of course it was, which brewed the king's obsession with eliminating the practice. So he became so obsessed he even penned a book, Daemonology. Yeah, Daemonology, quote unquote, endorsing witch hunting. So the first to fall victim was Gilly Duncan, accused of using okay, this does not make any sense. Accused of using healing curses. Healing and curse are two total different, like, planets here. Alright, so that's odd. I don't like that. And subject to prolonged torture. Ouch. Duncan confessed to having a contract with the devil. Oh, maybe she did then. So she was burned at the stake for her crime. In total, 70 people were accused of witchcraft, including several members of the Scottish nobility. So, although the actual number of those killed remains unknown, these events had such a profound effect that it's believed Shakespeare adapted parts of the trial, including the torture rituals, in Macbeth. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's morbid, but I mean, that's, pretty interesting. So, alright, the North Berwick witch trials were the first major trials in Scotland, but many followed, claiming an estimated total of 3,000 to 4,000 lives between 1560 and 1707. That's sad. That's very sad. Now we have Fulda, Germany, 1603 to 1606. So, tower used as a prison during the witch trials in Fulda. So they have a very nice tower. Not really, but they have a tower. So, after returning from a 20-year exile from his post, Balthasar von Dernbach, I'm guessing that is a big at the end of his last name. So the Prince Abbot of the Fulda Monastery joined the ongoing efforts of the Catholic Counter-Reformation to thwart perceived religious liberalism. So Dernbach launched an aggressive investigation into witchcraft and sorcery to purge the city of Fulda of improper things. So the most well-known victim was a pregnant woman named Murga Bien, accused of murdering her second husband. What did he do to her? Their children and a family member of her husband's employer. She was tortured and forced to confess, and she was found guilty. So Bien was burned at the stake. The witch hunts were stopped upon the death of Dernbach in 1605. Wow. Alright, now we have the Pendle Witch. So we all know about that. There's the documentary, which is very interesting. I mean, I really like that documentary. So, Pendle, England, 1612 to 1634. So Lancaster Castle, where all but 2 accused witches were put on trial. So, wow, that's a very beautiful castle. So, alright, taking place in Pendle Hill, a poor, lawless region in Lancashire, England, where begging and magical healing were common. These trials were among the most famous and well-documented of the 17th century. The previous decades have been rife was a fear of witchcraft, which was only magnified by the obsession of King James VI, known also as King James I of England, in purging his lands of witches and sorcerers. So it required to report anyone who refused to attend English church or take communion. I would have been dead a long time ago. The local justice of the peace. I about said Andy Griffith. I love Andy Griffith. I think it's a great show, and he is the justice of the peace as well as the sheriff. But whatever. So, alright, the local justice of the peace, Roger Noel, was also tasked with investigating claims of witchcraft. One such claim was made by a local Halifax peddler, who accused a local woman, Alison Device, of giving him a stroke through witchcraft. If these people back then only knew how hard it was to do stuff like this through witchcraft. Oh, my stomach. It's hungry for a soul. Okay, so Device freely confessed to the crime and implicated many of her family members. Other locals implicated their families, or later to be accused themselves. Talk about throwing everybody under the damn bus and then running it over 25 times. So altogether, 12 were accused of using witchcraft to murder 10 people. So 11 of the accused went to trial, 9 women and 2 men. 10 were found guilty and hanged. Ooh. Some of these sites would be really nice to go to and just leave a candle and an offering, just to let those people know, that us, are not like that. This looks like a really neat place. The memorial stone of Torsaker witch trials from 1675. So we have Sweden now, 1674 to 1675. That would be a beautiful setting for a ritual. Any kind of ritual, something fun. But then again, I don't know how it works in other countries. I know here we're safe to practice. I know some countries condemn it, and you're still burned for it, which I don't ever get. Alright, so the largest witch trial in Swedish history, and one of the largest mass killings of witches in recorded history. Alright, so here we go. This is before Salem. So, it saw 71 accused witches, including 65 females, or roughly 1/5 of all the women in the region, beheaded and burned in a single day. That's just disgusting. That really is. The bloodshed began when Minister Laurentius Christofori Hornius of Yerlanas, was instructed to investigate witchcraft within his parish. He ordered 2 young boys to stand at the doors and identify witches. 2 young boys, of course. And to identify witches by the invisible devil's mark on their forehead as they walked into church. Alright, so much to the dismay of Horneus, one of the boys identified the minister's wife. That's funny, a situation that was quickly hushed up. So the accused were suspected of abducting children and taking them to the Satan's Sabbath, a festival celebrated by Wiccans and Neo-Pagans. Oh, what? Okay, at Blackula, a meadow popular in Swedish folklore, where the devil held court. Does that sound like anything? I think I know where they got the clearing in the woods for Sabrina, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, alright, so, relying mostly on children. Don't rely on kids, oh my god. They're crazy. Where'd I go? Where did I go? I don't know where I went. Okay, testimonies were extracted through whippings, forced bathing in frozen lakes, or by threats to bake the children in an oven. Alright, talk about your Hansel and Gretel. Wow. That's scary. Yeah. Fear. So there were very few records of these trials, and the primary source was recorded 60 years after their conclusion by the grandson of Minister Horenius. who recorded his grandmother's eyewitness account to the proceedings. So the trials were thought to have shaky legitimacy, since the commission and local courts failed to report the death sentences to a higher court before carrying them out. So that right there are just a few of the witch trials. Okay, so women obviously were not the only victims of the witch trials. So, alright, so we have before Salem, the first American witch hunt, which I think is really cool. So find out about the accusation and trials that rattled Hartford, Connecticut in 1662. So before Salem, the first American witch hunt, which obviously I don't know why Salem wants so much credit or so much attention drawn to them. So, no idea. No idea. So, it took place in late March of 1662. Oh, nice. We have snow coming. This is wonderful. So, alright, so in late March of 1662, John and Bethia Kelly grieved over the body of their 8-year-old daughter inside their Hartford, Connecticut home. Little Elizabeth had been fine just days before when she returned home with a neighbor. Goodwife R.A.'s. The distraught parents, grasping at any explanation for their loss, saw the hand of the devil at work. Of course, always. So the parents were convinced that Elizabeth had been fatally possessed by Goody R.A.'s. The Kellys testified that their daughter first took ill the night after she returned home with her neighbor, and that she exclaimed, "Father, Father, help me, Goodwife R.A.'s is upon me. She chokes me. She kneels on my belly. She will break my bowels. Ooh. She pinches me. She will make me black and blue." So, after Elizabeth's death, accusations of bewitchment flew and fingers were pointed at numerous townspeople. Hysteria gripped Hartford, a town that a generation before had witnessed the first execution of a suspected witch in the American colonies. Alice Young of Windsor, Connecticut, was sent to the gallows, erected in Hartford's Meeting House Square, a now site of the Connecticut's Old State House, on May 26th of 1647. Wow. So much amazing stuff that happened before Salem. It's pretty nice. Well, it's not nice, but it's pretty interesting to brush up on all this. Alright, so witchcraft was one of 12 capital crimes decreed by Connecticut's colonial government in 1642. I think we still have witchcraft laws. I just don't think that they are taken seriously anymore, but I'm pretty sure that there are laws against witchcraft now, still. If you guys knew some of the laws of this state, you would freak out. It still boggles my mind. I might read those here in a minute. Every state has really stupid laws that have never been taken out. Alright, so the legal precedent cited by the devoutly Puritan colonists was a divinely higher order. Biblical passages such as Exodus 22:18, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," Leviticus 20:27, "A man or also a woman that hath a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death." Alright, poisoner. That's all it meant, was someone that poisoned other people. But we all know that. After Young's public hanging, at least 5 other Connecticut residents met a similar fate. However, it was Hartford, in 1662, 30 years later, before the infamous witch trials in Salem, that a witch hunt hysteria took hold, resulting in 7 trials and 4 executions. So shortly after Elizabeth Kelly's death, the pious Anne Cole suddenly became afflicted, shaking violently and spouting blasphemy. According to one contemporary account, Cole was taken with strange fits, wherein she, or rather the devil, as 'tis judged, making use of her lips, held a discourse for a considerable time. So Cole blamed her bewitchment on neighbor Rebecca Greensmith, described by one townsperson as a lewd, ignorant, considerably aged woman, and others already suspected of witchcraft in the Kelly case. So the accused began to accuse others and even their spouses of being the true witches in what became a vicious cycle. Neighbors began testifying against neighbors. Goody R.A.'s husband, perhaps in an attempt to save his wife, joined in the chorus of Greensmith's accusers. That's just really scary. So, the most damning testimony supposedly came from Greensmith herself, who reportedly admitted to having, quote, familiarity with the devil, and said that at Christmas they would have a merry meeting to form a covenant. Well, that doesn't sound that bad. I mean, it doesn't. So, Greensmith implicated her husband and said she had met in the woods with 7 other witches, including Goody Ayres, I think, Mary Sanford, and Sanderson. I'm thinking of Sanderson sisters, Mary Sanford and Elizabeth Seeger. Neighbors testified that they saw Seeger dancing with other women in the woods and cooking mysterious concoctions in black kettles. This is really interesting. So, 2 of the suspects, likely the Greensmiths, were subjected to the swimming test, in which their hands and feet were bound and they were cast into the water to test the theory that witches are unable to sink. Yeah, that we sink. After they were tried, the Greensmiths were indicated for not having the fear of God before thine eyes. Thou hast entertained familiarity with Satan, the grand enemy of God and mankind, and by his help hast acted things in preternatural way, whatever. The court's verdict, according to the law of God and the established law of this commonwealth, thou deserves to die. It's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I don't think anybody can actually, judge who is gonna die and, whatever. So Rebecca Greensmith had confessed in open court. Nathaniel Greensmith had protested his innocence, but they both met the same fate, the noose. So Sanford was also sent to the gallows. After their executions, Cole reportedly was restored to health. Ayres fled Hartford, while Seeger was finally convicted of witchcraft in 1665. Although the governor reversed the verdict the following year, Mary Barnes of Farmington, Connecticut, was also swept up in the region's witch hunt and executed alongside the Greensmiths. Very odd. So, the 4 executions of suspected witches in Hartford were to be Connecticut's last. Another hysteria broke out in Fairfield, Connecticut in 1692, but none of those convicted met death. Connecticut held its final witch trial in 1697, a half-century after Young's execution. So during that period, there were 46 prosecutions and at least 11 executions. Crazy. It's really crazy. The tests that they put these people through. That's just sad. Alright, so descendants of some of those 11 colonists are seeking whatever, pardons and apologies, similar to those that occurred in Massachusetts for victims of the Salem witch trials. So previous resolutions resolutions in the Connecticut legislature, however, have not come out of committee, and the state's Board of Pardons and Paroles also had a policy of not granting pardons. So the descendants are now pressing for a gubernatorial proclamation to clear the names of their ancestors. Wow. That's crazy. That's really crazy. So yeah, we have quite a few lesser known witches that we covered. So I think that's pretty cool. We do have, let me see. So we have 10 little known witch trials from history. Alright, the witch trials mention the word and several scenarios come to mind. The Salem witch trials of the 17th century Massachusetts may be one. So, or maybe the word conjures the specter of Matthew Hopkins, the self-styled witch-finder general of the English Civil War. At a push, you may have heard of the Pendle witches who were tried in Lancashire during the reign of James I. So their trial provided much of the inspiration for Salem. So these witch trials are among the best known, most well-documented examples of the persecution of witches. However, they are just the tip of the iceberg. So between the 14th and 18th centuries, and even beyond, thousands of men, women, and children lost their lives across Europe and North America as a result of the so-called witch craze. These trials were sparked by religious insecurity, sexual and social hysteria, jealousy, suspicion, or just as a cynical exercise in gain. Many are lost from the record. So, however, many more survive, less well known than their more famous counterparts, but nonetheless sensational or tragic. So, these lesser known witch trials help map the development of the witch craze in the early modern world. So, wow. Alice Cateller. We have a nice picture of, well, a sculpture of her, of stone. Yes. Oh, sheep. How wonderful. So, alright, here is Alice again. So, before the 13th century, witchcraft, or maleficum, was a pretty secular crime. It remained unacknowledged by the Orthodox Catholic Church, who, secure in its position, did not give much credence to the power of superstitious practices. Look at their own practices. However, by the 14th century, the Church had suffered a change of heart. Alternative interpretations of Christianity were becoming more and more common, and challenged the established Church's power. Suddenly, anything outside accepted Church canon was a heresiary. That included witchcraft. So in 1324, in Kilkenny, Southern Ireland, Alice Cateller became the first person to be tried for witchcraft as a heretic outside of Germany, and the first woman to be accusing of acquiring sorcery through intercourse with a demon. I've got a story about that one too. However, Alice was no poor, downtrodden outcast, as were many later witches. She was the descendant of Flemish merchants who had settled in Kilkenny and became wealthy and influential. The problem was, over the course of 4 distinctly something at marriages, Alice became wealthier still. Alright, so yeah, so she was burnt for her witchcraft on November 3rd, 1324. So most of the victims of early witchcraft trials were not necessarily women. Okay, we already went over that one. So the rise of Protestantism caused such witch trials to spread and increase. So the Weisenstag witch trials The Protestant Reformation led to religious turmoil in 16th century Europe as Catholics and their reforming opponents vied for supremacy over the hearts and minds of the people. So, this rivalry often occurred in settlings of political and social uncertainty. Suddenly, the witch craze that had been slowly building momentum across Europe exploded. From the mid-16th century outwards, Germany in particular was the setting for some of the most extensive and devastating witch trials. So, the Weisenstag witch trial of 1562 to 63 was the first. So, I don't know what the hell, these names need to be better, more pronounceable. Weisenstag was a relatively unremarkable town in southern Germany, founded about a Benedictine abbey in the 9th century. The town remained staunchly Catholic until 1555. Then the town's overlord, Count Ulrich, that's 1517, of Helfenstein, introduced Lutheran Protestantism. So thus, Weisenstag became divided into those who embraced the new religion and those who clung to the old Catholic ways. So at the same time, the town suffered some misfortunes with which accumulated on August 3rd, 1562. A huge hailstorm hit, causing extensive damage. The storm was the last straw for Count Ulrich. He announced that, in his opinion, the city, Weisenstag, was the victim of witchcraft. So Ulrich acted immediately with the full support of, I'm sick of saying this word, Weisenstag's Lutheran leader, Leonard Coleman. He had several women arrested. The women were tortured and confessed to being part of a malicious coven. They also implicated citizens from nearby Esslingen. As a result, the authorities arrested 3 Esslingen citizens. However, they equally quickly let them go, outraged at this laxness. So Count Ulrich stepped up the investigations to compensate. Wow. So Lutheran authorities immediately arrested and executed a further 40 women. In December of 1562, Ulrich approved the execution of 20 more. The events at Weisenstag were so unprecedented that they inspired a snappily entitled pamphlet, The True and Horrifying Deeds and Activities of 63 Witches Who Have Been Executed by Fire in Weisenstag. However, this book was answered by another, John Wayers, of The Tricks of Demons. So, wow. I would love to get my hands on one of the original books like that. So, Ware used the trials in, there's that word again, Weisenstag as an example of why witchcraft persecutions were erroneous, whatever. The book became a 16th century bestseller, reaching 6 editions by 1583. So, however, it did nothing to stop the persecutions by both Protestants and Catholics. The trials at Weisenstag were a part of a Europe-wide trend, and the first 4 significant witch trials in Germany alone. Alright, now we have Mother Styles. So, witchcraft has been a criminal offense in its own right in England and Wales in 1542, when a paranoid Henry VIII added to the statute book. Although the act was repealed in 1547, it reinstated in a much more severe form in 1563. So, Henry's daughter Elizabeth I had suffered a fright when on a royal progress after wax puppets in her image were discovered. Witchcraft was once more a royal concern, so it was in the atmosphere that witch trials in Britain began to become sensationalized, fodder for the masses. So So one of the earliest British witchcraft pamphlets was a rehearsal both strong and true of heinous and horrible acts committed by Elizabeth Style, alias Rockingham, Mother Dutton, Mother Dwell, Mother Margaret, and fewer notorious witches. So published in 1579, the pamphlet recorded the case of 65-year-old Windsor widow Elizabeth Styles, who had been charged with witchcraft the previous year. Styles was a bad-tempered beggar, known for railing at those who refused her alms. Her odd reputation was enhanced by her unusual choice of a rat for a pet. Oh, rats are cute. So one day a local innkeeper refused Styles' pleas for food. Soon afterward he became ill. Alright, so convinced the old woman had cursed him, the innkeeper set back about breaking the spell. So he escorted Styles and scratched her to make her bleed, a surefire remedy against the curse if she was the guilty witch. Blood flowed and the innkeeper recovered. As for Mother Styles, she was arrested. In custody, Styles described how, together with 3 other old outcasts known as Mother Margaret, Mother Dutton, Mother Devell, and Mother Devell, she had practiced image magic, the practice of creating a puppet of their intended victim, which they stabbed with pins. So, the women were also associated with a Father Rosamunde, whatever, who was reputedly able to assume the shape and likeliness of any beast whatsoever he will. So Styles and her accomplices were tried, found guilty, and hanged on February 26th of 1579, while the inclusion of a shadowy figure of Father Rosamund helped connect the women's witchcraft with the by now equal dubious popish superstitions of Catholicism. Religion was not the only motive behind their conviction. So for women being increasingly were increasingly being associated with witchcraft, especially those women with no set place in society. So old, deformed, marginal figures were at risk, especially those with only pets for company. Oh my God, my ass would be burned. The pamphlet telling the tale of Mother Styles helped shape the image of the witch that remains with us to this day. So the women who challenged and the men who challenged the status quo were also at risk. So, this is a witch hanging, and this is Styles, if you guys can see her. So, that's where modern day hangings come from. Wow, we have a lot on here. There are a lot. I mean, there are just so many. There's way too many on here. Wow. Yeah, I can't go through all these. Yeah, this is all in Europe, way before the witch trials of Salem. Oh my God, and it just keeps going and going and going. So that's pretty cool, pretty amazing. I mean, we have some pretty decent history in those stories, and obviously those people, you know, if they're in spirit listening to us or whatever, then they know that we're not like those people. Most of us aren't, anyway. So, all right, now for those odd laws. So, yeah, we have some pretty Indiana, I think, crazy laws. Yes, dumb laws in Indiana. So, this is all true, and this is all still to this day. So, Waitresses may not carry drinks into a restaurant or bar. No clue. No clue how that one happened. Alright. It gets funnier. I mean, it seriously is funny. So, hotel sheets must be exactly 99 inches long and 81 inches wide. These are laws that are still in effect that nobody, they don't take seriously anymore. I mean, who the fuck would? Alright, now, this is funny. If any person has a puppet show, wire dancing, or tumbling act in the state of Indiana and receives money for it, they will be fined $3 under the act to prevent certain immoral practices. Odd. This is another one. Anyone 14 or older who profanely curses, damns, or swears by the name of God, Jesus Christ, or the Holy Ghost shall be fined $1 to $3 for each offense, with a maximum of fine of $10 per day. Fuck Jesus Christ, god damn it. A $3 fine per pack will be imposed on anyone playing cards in Indiana under the act of the Act for the Prevention of Gambling. The value of pie is 3. It is illegal for a man to be sexually aroused in public. Alright, state government officials who engage in private duels can be dismissed from their post. A person must get a referral from a licensed physician if he or she wishes to see a hypnotist, unless the desired procedure is to quit smoking or lose weight. Wow, I went for more than just to quit smoking. Smoking in the state legislature building is banned, except when the legislature is in session. All males 18 to 50 years old must work 6 days a year on public roads. Baths may not be taken between the months of October and March. Really? A check forgery can be punished with the public flogging up to 100 stripes. Mustaches are illegal if the bearer has a tendency to habitually kiss other humans. It is illegal to sell cars on Sunday. I think that's still in effect. You can't buy a car on Sunday anywhere, I don't know. So, pedestrians crossing the highway at night are prohibited from wearing tail lights. Oral sex is illegal. No one may catch a fish with their bare hands. A man over the age of 18 may be arrested for statutory rape if the passenger in his car is not wearing her socks and shoes and is under the age of 17. Men are prohibited from standing in a bar. I don't know where these come from. They're funny. Ashes everywhere. So, alright, it is against the law to pass a horse on the street. I've done it. You are not allowed to carry a cocktail from the bar to a table. I've done that. It is illegal for a liquor store to sell cold, soft drinks. Even from the vending machine? That doesn't make any sense. Drinks on the house are illegal. Liquor stores may not sell milk. Drinking from your own bottle in a bar can lead to your arrest. Grocery stores may not sell any type of cold liquor. You are required to pour your drinks into a glass. You can get out of paying for a dependent's medical care by praying for him or her. Wow. So, spiteful gossip and talking behind a person's back are illegal. One may not sniff glue. What? One may not back into a parking spot because it prevents police officers from seeing the license plate. What about parallel parking? You can't see license plates on parallel parking. Alright. This is funny. City laws. So, Beech Grove. It is forbidden to eat watermelon in the park. Elkhart, it is illegal for barbers to threaten to cut off kids' ears. Evansville, while driving on the main street, you may not have your lights on. Fort Wayne, you may not sell or play on radio broadcasts. The record, it's in the book. Gary, within 4 hours of eating garlic, a person may not enter a movie house theater or ride a public steer car. Wow. I mean, this list goes on for a long time. So, Indianapolis, hopefully residents of the city have speedometers on their horses, for they cannot ride them in excess of 10 miles per hour. One may only throw a stone at a bird in self-defense. No person may collect rags on Sunday. It just goes on to even crazier laws that I don't know. I think it's pretty funny. There are some pretty racial ones too, but I won't go over those. So I'm pretty sure you guys can guess what kind of racial laws there I'm talking about, which are ridiculous. So, alright guys, a little more history, which is very good for us, for all of us. So I will see you guys tomorrow for Witchy Wednesday. So I love you all very much with all my heart, all the way from Venus, ouch, all the way back down. So everybody have a good day. Stay warm. Yeah, don't stay cold, stay warm. And I love you all. And thank you guys for watching. So everybody have a good day.